So last couple of classes, we understood, how our deen is derived from the sources, from the various sources of Islamic law, Quran and Sunnah primary, and then some secondary sources, also considered primary sources. It depends upon how you look at it in some respects. Then we understood, history. We understood the purpose of the madhahib. How did the madhahib form? What are the key differences between the madhahib? And what makes them different, right? So just to summarize now today, inshallah, what are the causes for the disagreements, right? We all know this. First of all, the scholars say, so this is a this is a summary from a article slash treatise, a small little booklet or essay, you can call it, by Sheikh Hatim al-Hajj. Love him. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect him. He's amazing. One of the top scholars in the US. Hatim al-Hajj. I don't know if you know him. Um, and he's actually a expert in comparative fiqh. That's his specialty. When I say comparative fiqh, you understand what I mean by comparative fiqh, right? He knows the different rulings of different madhahib, right? Not that he's an expert on all of the madhahib, but his expertise in the differences. And he's a Hanbali, a very staunch Hanbali, and he's part of the North American Council of Fatwas. I forget the name of it, but yes, thank you. Barakallah fik. You know who I'm talking about? Okay, Sheikh Hatim Haj, he's amazing. Okay, so he wrote this. I summarized his thing. So the causes of disagreements are Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants it that way, divine wisdom. Okay, that's one reason. Human nature, right? Human nature causes disagreements, how things can be interpreted different ways, and one person thinks that their methodology is correct over another person, or just human nature in general. Then we understand how you actually take the Sharia, the Sunnah, and the Quran. Whether the reports and the ahadith were available to the mujtahids or not, right? As we talked about during the time of Abu Hanifa, there was scarcity of authenticated reports. There were reports, but authenticated reports, right? And then the authenticity of the reports is also what causes disagreements. This is a really weak hadith, or there's another hadith that's contradicting. One is stronger than the other, and what have you. It's very complex, as you guys have an idea from the hadith class. So authenticity of the reports causes disagreement. For example, Rafa Adhan for the Salah, for example, has the same exact reason why there's a difference. Interpretation of the proofs, how you understand what the Quran says and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam say, how they say it, what they say, etc. I am not going to touch that topic at all, because that, inshallah, we will do a different class if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills. It's called Usul al-Fiqh. You guys are getting a very short summarized version of Usul al-Fiqh and some of the basics, but there's a much deeper discussion to have. So we will keep it for that, because there's linguistic nuances that we need to take into considerations, and I'm just going to leave it at that. So there's linguistic reasons, and there's methodology, okay, and reconciling between different reports. Okay, one report says this, another report says Y. They seem to contradict, or they seem to be incomplete without each other. So do you combine them, and do you look at them holistically, or do they still apply separately? So lots of different reasons. Anyway, so Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, so I'll just end here on this topic of the reasons of differences. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, and captured in Tirmidhi, that basically Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam warned us that whoever lives from among you, meaning after me, they will see a lot of differences. يَرَى اخْتِلَافًا كَثِيرًا وَإِيَّاكُمْ مُحْدَثَاتِ الْأُمُورِ. And he says, he warned people about innovations, new innovations. Now, what did he mean by that? He meant innovation in the religion, in possibly the worship. You can draw a box around what innovation exactly means. That is also a very, very deep, complex topic that we'll tackle very separately. What is bid'ah? Okay, what is innovation? That is a whole deeper topic. We're gonna not talk about that right now. And so then he gives us a rule, a rule of thumb. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he gives us the guidance saying that whoever witnesses such a thing when there's a lot of differences, فَعَلَيْهِ بِسُنَّتِي, then upon him, he must follow my sunnah, meaning what's authentic from me. وَسُنَّةِ الْخُلَفَاءِ الرَّاشِدِينَ الْمَهْدِيِّينَ, then they should follow the sunnah of my khulafa, those who will follow me. Obviously, he didn't say who, right? Those who will come after me, the Khalifa who will take over from me, Ar-Rashidin. They're the one who are the rightly guided. Al-Mahdiyin, you can say, is a double emphasis. They're really, really rightly guided. Those who will come after me, Khulafa Ar-Rashidin Al-Mahdiyin. Mahdi means the one who is guided. Rashid means the one who is guided also. Okay. And he says, very, very famous expression from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Addu alayha bin nawajid," my sunnah and the sunnah of my successors with your molars, like with your strongest teeth. Hold on to the sunnah. That's what he said. Rawahu Tirmidhi. Okay. Then, how do we handle disagreements? So, we have to seek the truth. We shouldn't be culty, right? We shouldn't be little cults within our deen. We should seek the truth and not follow the cult. So Imam Shafi'i, famously, it's a third person, so I'll read this. So Imam al-Bayhaqi, who was a Shafi'i as well, and he wrote his book of hadith, Sunan al-Bayhaqi, basically affirming the fiqh of Imam Shafi'i. But he says that Shafi'i, Allah yarhamuh, said, this is Imam Shafi'i saying, I never debated anyone I knew to be founded upon bid'ah, okay, innovation. This is because the one founded upon innovation rarely turns away from his innovation through debate. Indeed, he would only debate whomever. So then these are Bayhaqi's words. So Imam Shafi'i's quote is done. But this is the important part. Imam al-Bayhaqi is saying that Imam Shafi'i would only debate whoever it was hoped to turn to the truth if it were clarified to him. Basically, he would only debate with somebody not seeking to win the debate. He would debate somebody to learn the truth. Like, what if his understanding was incorrect? See the beautiful part there? And that should be our attitude. We should never debate with anybody. We should want to seek the truth, right? Even if in a debate situation, okay, this is my argument. What is your argument? Let's battle it out in a good way, in an academic way, right? This is my evidence. This is your evidence. Let's do some analysis. Obviously, this is for scholars, not for regular people, right? Regular people should, I told you, right? They don't have a madhab. They need to just follow the people of knowledge. End of story. Very simple. So this is for scholars, how they should do. So our attitude should be, we need to accept the existence of differences. They will exist. They will exist forever. Okay? You just need to accept that there's going to be no final unification or anything like that. And whatever we have on when it comes to eschatology, you know that fancy word, eschatology? Eschatology? Study of the end of times, study of the end days. Okay, a lot of those reports are also weakish. Okay, they're not very, the details are not authentic. The details are super weak. Skeletally, we have an idea. Okay, what I'm saying is, I'm not talking about end times. Only Allah knows what's going to happen on the end times. But what I'm saying is the disagreements will continue to exist. Okay. So hold on, seek the truth, right? This is what Sheikh Al-Hajj is saying. Hold on to the rope of Allah, meaning hold on to the Sunnah and the Quran. Um, don't prefer, and this is his Ashari side coming through because he's a Hanbali, so he's gonna prefer hadith over opinion. So he's saying, do not prefer any scholar's opinion over what you already know to be authentic Sunnah and Quran, right? You can argue this different ways. I don't want to be a sectarian, so I'm going to be very, very balanced in my approach. So this is a very Athari statement. Like Malikis, Shafi'is, Hanbalis, that's what they would say, right? Hanafis, they will not. They will say this, but not this way. Okay. Um, seek knowledge, propagate knowledge, seek the truth, even if it's against you. So that should be our attitude. Purify your intention, right? Are you wanting to win, or are you wanting to seek the truth? Purify your heart from all evil, be humble, understand your level of your knowledge. And if it's low, better to just listen and not speak, right? Respect those who have more knowledge than you. A muqallid, which is most of us, must not condemn another muqallid. So one who is following another scholar, right? They should not blame another follower for following a different path because he doesn't know. He himself is a follower. How is he supposed to judge other followers? He cannot do that. Are you guys getting it? Right. Okay. Um, um, and a follower should not follow another follower because he's a follower, right? Follow the students of knowledge. Okay. Avoid jest, meaning always be serious about learning the deen, right? Don't have lack of seriousness, okay? Don't have blind allegiance to sectarianism, right? And don't do fatwa shopping. What is easy in my situation? Everybody is guilty of that. We all do that. Seek the truth. Whichever sits in your heart as the truth, seek the truth. And avoid dialectics, right? Avoid jadal, avoid argumentation. And if your level of knowledge is low, then you absolutely should not at all do it. If you're an academic, then yes, go ahead, but do it the way Imam Shafi'i said, right? Seek the truth, learn from you. I want to learn from you. What is your argument? What is your argument? Let's come together. This is my methodology. I feel this is stronger from but in a very nice way. Okay, so I'll give you an example. Okay, I'll give you an example, and we're going to move on to the next topic, inshallah. um, there's a word in the Quran, a very special word that is only used, I believe, only once in the Quran. It's called al-kalala. Kalala? You probably have never heard of it. And even, of course, you read the Quran, you didn't know it was a word. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah An-Nisa, يَسْتَفْتُونَكَ قُلِ اللَّهُ يُفْتِيكُمْ فِي الْكَلَالَةِ. So the word fatwa, by the way, is in the Quran. Okay. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling Rasulullah they are seeking your fatwa, meaning they're seeking your guidance or your opinion on something. Tell them, tell them that Allah will tell you about kalala. So they're asking about the kalala situation. What is a kalala? We're going to park that and we're going to talk about that in a second. So just a little bit of the ayah. I'm not going to read the whole thing. So in imru'un halaka laysa lahu walad walahu ukhtun falaha nisfu ma tarak. Okay. So if one of you dies, but he doesn't have a child, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if one of you dies, but he doesn't have a child, but he has a sister, then the sister inherits from him. Okay. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is describing kalala. Okay. So this person is a kalala. If وَهُوَ يَرِثُهَا إِن لَمْ يَكُنْ لَهَا وَلَدٌ. But, and similarly, if a sister dies and she doesn't have a child, then the brother inherits from her. Okay. You get the idea? Okay. All right. It's not clear what exactly is kalala from this. It's not clear, not 100% clear. So Abu Bakr. Okay, su'ila. So this is a hadith now, or athar. So su'ila Abu Bakr anil kalala. So Abu Bakr was asked exactly who is a kalala. When does this rule apply? What is kalala? So Abu Bakr said, this is after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, so inni aqulu fiha bi ra'yi. He says, I'm going to tell you my opinion. فَإِنْ كَانَ صَوَابًا. Look at the beauty of Abu Bakr approach, right? فَإِنْ كَانَ صَوَابًا فَمِنَ اللَّهِ لَا شَرِيكَ لَهُ. If I am right, then it is from Allah who has no partner. وَإِنْ كَانَ خَطَأً فَمِنِّي. And if it's a mistake, it is from me. Look at he didn't have an ego. Look at subhanAllah, the beauty of how Abu Bakr approach to, he's saying this is my opinion, and if I'm right, then it is from Allah, and it's wrong, but it is from me. Wa min ash-shaytan, it's from shaytan. So a lot of the scholars, when they end the speech, what did they say? If whatever I said, this is where it comes from. They're following the sunnah of Abu Bakr, right? So this should be new information to most of you. Okay, yeah, okay. Wallahu minhu bari, and Allah is free from my mistake, right? Then he said, Urahu, I see it, ma khalal walad wal walid. So a kalala is the one who neither has a child nor he has a father, meaning father is dead and he has no children left, living, or never had a child. So this was Abu Bakr's, and according to him, opinion. Okay. فَلَمَّا اسْتُخْلِفَ عُمَرْ. And then when Umar took over from Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, then he was asked about kalala. So he says, al-kalalatu ma'adal walad. So he says, a kalala is the one who does not have a child. So Umar radiallahu anh is preferring the ayah's direct meaning, right? Kalala is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directly says, doesn't have a child, okay? So then he was questioned, it's like, your opinion is different from Abu Bakr's opinion, right? فَلَمَّا طُعِنَ عُمَرْ. When he was taunted, meaning, why are you saying something different from Abu Bakr? This doesn't make any sense. So look at Umar radiallahu anh, okay? He said, إِنِّي لَأَسْتَحْيِي. I am embarrassed أَنْ أُخَالِفَ أَبَا بَكْر, that I disagree with Abu Bakr. Umar radiallahu anh saying, I am shy to disagree with Abu Bakr. Ara, now it's my opinion, أن الكلالة ما عدا الولد والوالد. So his opinion became the opinion of Abu Bakr, which is a kalala is the one who neither has a child nor not a father or grandfather, and nobody's in the upper. It's the etiquette. You see the anyway, so that's enough on the discussion on the disagreements. I just wanted to guys give you an idea. I thought this was extremely beautiful. This is something that Sheikh Khatim al-Hajj brought at the end of his discussion. Okay, now let's do the fun stuff. Completely now different topic. So what does our deen tell us? It is do's and don'ts, essentially, right? Things you're supposed to do and things you are not supposed to do. There are not too many of them. Okay, we think deen is complex. It's not complex. You do these things and you don't do these things. The rest is all halal. Okay, as we shall see. Okay, so Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, okay, this is a muttafaq alayh hadith. Al-halalu bayyin wal-haramu bayyin. Very famous hadith. It's, I think, fourth or fifth in the Arba'un al-Nawawi, the 40 hadith of Imam Nawawi. Al-halalu bayyin wal-haramu bayyin. Halal is clear and haram is clear. وَبَيْنَهُمَا مُشَبَّهَاتٍ. But between them is gray area. Okay? لَا يَعْلَمُهَا كَثِيرٌ مِنَ النَّاسِ. Which most people don't know. Meaning they don't know whether it's halal or haram. It's gray. You guys know this hadith? No? Okay. Okay, we need to have a lesson on the Arba'un al-Nawawi. It's super important. There's a reason that book is famous. Inshallah, we'll do it one day. if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills. Then, okay, so if you don't know this hadith, I'm going to spend some time on it. So he says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, haram is clear, halal is clear, haram is clear, between them is a gray area, and a lot of people don't know whether it's halal or haram. Mushabbahat mean things that look, seem similar, okay? Meaning you're not sure if it's this or this, right? فَمَنِ اتَّقَى الْمُشَبَّهَاتِ اسْتَبْرَأَ لِدِينِهِ وَعِرْضِهِ, okay? And whoever protects himself from the gray area, then basically he's safe. So I'll just leave it at that for now. وَمَنْ وَقَعَ فِي الشُّبُهَاتِ, and whoever delves into the unsure areas, he is like, then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave an example. كَرَاعٍ يَرْعَى حَوْلَ الْحِمَى يُوشِكُ أَنْ يُوَاقِعُ عَلَى. Okay, so I'll just simplify it, okay? So he says that it is like, so the one who indulges in the gray area too much, okay, and try to figure it out on their own without a lot of knowledge, okay, is like a shepherd who grazes his animals near a sacred sanctity property. So a shepherd who has some sheep or goat or whatever, and he's going near somebody else's property. What do you think he should do? He should stay away from their property and not let their sheep graze. Okay. Right? Okay. So he said, beware because every king has a hima. Every king has a sacred pasture, sacred property, and the hima of Allah on earth is his forbidden things. It's the haram. So don't go near the haram. Okay? Right? And then and the last part of this hadith is, you all know this hadith. This is the last part of this hadith, that there's a piece of flesh in the body. If it's good, then the whole body is good. And if it is spoiled, then the whole body is spoiled. Right? So that's the hadith. Okay? What do we learn from this? We learn from this that if things look suspiciously haram, avoid. Clear? If things are not clear if they're halal, if it's not clear if they're halal to do, avoid them. Good rule, yes. Sure. Yeah, no, that's a great question. That's a great question. I'll give a controversial example that I gave at the beginning of the class. Remember I said it could be debated that in France, under certain situations, wearing the hijab might not be advocated. It's a gray area. Nobody can tell you that that is a wrong or, well, the most people will say that no, hijab is mandatory. Very, very few people will tell you, no, you should take it out because, you're risking your life. Okay. But that's a gray area, you see? So if you want to be safe, what would you do? Wear the hijab in France? No, you're going to try to find every single way to get out of France. That's what you need to do. Does that make sense? You don't. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, in Surah Al-Hadid, وَفَتَنْتُمْ أَنفُسَكُمْ. You put yourself in trials. وَتَرَبَّصْتُمْ. And you delayed making a decision. Right? وَارْتَبْتُمْ. And then you were doubtful. وَغَرَّتْكُمُ الْأَمَانِي. It's a very powerful ayah in the Quran, in Surah Al-Hadid, in the middle of Surah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about those who are unfortunate on the Day of Judgment, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, you put yourself in trial. Why would you put yourself in trial? Avoid the trial, right? Anyways, okay, so clear? Okay, so that was the foundation of what now we're going to dive into, inshallah, here. We're probably going to go a little bit over. I don't care if we're late for Isha a little bit, 10, 15 minutes. I'm going to finish this, inshallah. What we're going to now go into is the actually halal and haram, what we call, which is the categories of how we understand rulings. So remember, I told you, you take the sources of law. So a mujtahid then derives from the sources of law, and for every single case, how you, for example, say Allahu Akbar, just that. How do you say it? Where do you raise your hands? How far? Do you even say Allahu Akbar out loud? Do you say that silently? Is it mandatory? Or can you enter the salah without even saying Allahu Akbar? Can you say Allahu Akbar in Arabic? Do you have to say it in Arabic? Can you say it in Urdu? Can you say it in Bangla or Farsi or whatever? Is that allowed? You see what I'm saying? You slice and dice that one issue. When you come with a ruling, that ruling, the Arabic term is called Ḥukm. It's called Ḥukm. Ḥukm. Ḥukm means a judgment. Okay? So there are two, obviously, types of Ḥukm. Okay? One is do, one is don't. Right? Um, Before I go too far, so is every Ḥukm the same? A do, is it a must or is it a nice? A don't, is it a must don't, or is it it's better if you don't? You understand? So there's a spectrum. It it's the a lot of Muslims think halal haram. It's black white. It's not that simple. It's gray spectrum. Okay, it's very white, very dark here. In the middle, there's shades of gray. Okay, all right. So, for example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Hujurat, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, oh, those who claim to believe, La yaskhar qawmun min qawmin, do not make fun of one another, okay? One nation or one group of people, don't make fun of another group of people. Don't. What is this? It's a don't, right? It's a nahi. It's called a nahi, okay? Means don't. The Urdu nahi comes from this nahi, okay? It's a don't. Asa an yakunu khayran minhum. It may be that they are better than you, okay? Better than them, the one who are making fun of each other. ولا نساء من نساء عسى أن يكن خيرا منهن. And one group of women shouldn't make another group of women. They shouldn't make fun of another group of women. It may be that they may be better than them. Okay. And do not call each other bad words and labels. Don't give each other labels. ولا تلمزوا أنفسكم ولا تنابزوا بالألقاب. بئس الاسم الفسوق بعد الإيمان. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if you have iman, it is unbecoming of you to throw labels at other people. Oh, he is, like racist labels or derogatory labels or those kinds of things. Don't we all do this? It's it's from the muharramat, things you're not supposed to do, things that are prohibited in the Quran. Okay, now what do scholars do with this? Is it haram haram? Is it as haram as killing someone? Or is it less? Right? It's less, but it's still haram. So what I'm trying to show you with this example is there's degrees of haram. Okay, more. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "La salata liman lam yaqra bi fatihatil kitab." There is no prayer. Meaning your prayer is invalid if you don't read Fatiha, al-Fatiha in it. Okay, Surah al-Fatiha. Prayer is invalid. This hadith is almost, you can say, mutawatir. You see how many places it's been narrated in, and it's by many, I think it's by many, many, many narrators. So I'm not going to get into that. I'm not an expert. Anyways, on this, because of the chains, all the chains, I'm not. But anyways, I'm just giving you these data points. These are just data points. There's a whole lot of other evidences around all of this. It's not just this. I'm just giving you this as an example. So this is also a nahi, right? Or you can say this is becoming something mandatory. It's a hukum that you have to pray Fatiha. It's the mafhum al-mukhalafa, which means how prayer is not valid until you read Fatiha. What does that mean? Statement, the opposite meaning of this statement is you must read Fatiha, and that's called mafhum al-mukhalafa. Anyway, a technical term, not important. So this is where it comes from. Then, for example, the prohibition of anger. So a man came to the Prophet ﷺ. He said, "Give me some advice." Awsini. He says, "La taghdab, don't be angry." Then he asked again, faradda miraran, right? Then he asked many times to him, like, please give me some more advice. And he's like, la taqlaq, don't get angry. It's also a nahi, don't get angry. Does it mean it is a prohibition? It is a nahi, but it is haram. Okay. So I'm just giving you these examples just so that you have an idea where do hukam, ahkam come from, right? Don't be angry. That is more character based. There is no, the prayer is not valid without Al-Fatiha. That is more worship based. Okay. Okay. We'll come to that. So the hukm, what are the two categories? There are amar and nahi. Amar, do. Nahi, don't. Okay. These ahkam are called taklīfī, meaning you are responsible. A mukallaf is responsible. Should I talk about mukallaf? Yeah, a little bit. Basically, the one who is a Muslim and a baligh, somebody who has reached the age of puberty and is sane, he is accountable. Okay, so if you're accountable, you're responsible. You have the taklif, you have the responsibility. What is your responsibility? The amr and the nahi. So you see this right here. Is it making sense? The types of hukum. There's more types of hukum. I'll make this larger so you guys can see. So hukum, a ruling, taklīfī, meaning an obligation, a responsibility, is two types, amr and nahi, do and don't. Okay. There's other types of hukum. We're going to come to them later. There's hukum wad'i and exceptions. Okay. I'm going to come to these later, inshallah. Let me just let me break down amr. Amr is of two types. The do is of two types. One is you must do. Okay. It's called a wājib, or also known as fard. So amr is two types. The do is two types. There's a fard called wājib or fard. And then there's what we call sunnah. It has many names. We're going to get into that. The not fard, but it is also a do. Clear? So far, so good? I know you guys are distracted. Just focus. Nahi is also similarly of two types, opposite, right? There is a must not do, right? It's called haram. And then there is a don't do it, and that's best. It's best not to do. That is makruh. Clear? Are these like black and white categories? No. There's a spectrum of in amongst all of these. But scholars, they use these terms just as a general bucket. Okay, these things are known to be haram. These things are known to be makruh, but there are grades in it. Everything else is called mubah. Everything else, which we also call halal. Everything else is halal. Its technical word is mubah. Mubah. Okay. All right. So now I'm gonna break it down. Wājib. What is a wājib? Example in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Ba'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kutiba alaykumus siyam." Oh, believers, fasting has been made a law for you. Very clear statement. It's law for you. Okay? Kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum. Just like it was made a law for the people before you. We all know this. I'm not going to delve into it. I just gave you as an example. Like, this is one example Is this the only reason why fasting is made obligatory? No, there's all kinds of evidences. I'm just giving you examples. I'm just saying this again and again, so you don't only think we derive law from one unit of information. It doesn't work that way. Okay, so the definition of a wajib is you are rewarded if you perform it, and you are punished if you do not perform it. That's called a wajib. Clear? You are punished if you don't perform. Examples giving of zakah, fasting, salah, all of these are wajibat. Okay. What is fard then? Okay. So this distinction only exists in the Hanafi madhhab. It's a really good distinction, but it's a good distinction. Spectrum. Not that the other madhhab don't believe in the spectrum, of course they do. But there's a reason they call it wajib and fard linguistically means exactly the same thing. Okay? So they use these different synonyms to kind of separate the ideas. For Hanafis, fard is what I just said. You are rewarded if you do it and punished if you don't do it. And for them, it is the fard is the highest level of obligation. Okay? And wajib for them is also a high level of obligation, but a little bit lower than a fard. Okay. One example is what everybody knows. Witr. That's what they call wajib. They bring it close to a fard because for them and I guess let's get into it now. So Salatul Witr. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam almost never ever, if ever, skipped Salat Qiyamul Layl, and we're just gonna just roughly we're gonna call that witr. Okay, roughly we're gonna call that witr. He hardly ever never skipped that salah. There are numerous ahadith where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is advising people to pray Qiyamul Layl or witr. Okay. What exactly is the definition of witr? That's a whole different discussion. I'm not gonna go there. We'll be here all night. Okay. So, for example, Rasulullah said, "Al-witru haqq." Okay, this hadith is in Abu Dawud. He says, "Witr is a duty." How do you translate haqq? Is also, anyways. Al-witr is a duty, so that's just how it's translated. We'll just go with this. Ala kulli Muslim. It is what witr is a duty on every Muslim. Faman ahabba, and whoever likes. Did you see? Whoever likes to an-yutira, whoever likes to do witr with 5 rak'ah, bi khamsin falyaf'al. He can do 5 rak'ah, meaning he's talking about Qiyamul Layl. Okay. What is 5 rak'ah? How do you pray 5 rak'ah? You pray 2, 2, and 1. Okay. That's how you do it. So whoever wants to do 5, then let him do 5. And whoever wants to do 3, let him do 3. Who wants to do 1, let him do 1. Okay. Don't derive a ruling from this. Okay. It's one data point. Okay, Habibi? Okay. No do-it-yourself fiqh here. Okay. Inshallah. Okay. I'm just giving you an idea. So what did Rasulullah say? The witr is a duty. Anyway, this is just one example. There are so many other examples. So this is why the Hanafis say that there's so much discussion on witr and the importance of witr, so much more than anything else. When it comes to the types of prayer, the types of non-fard prayers that you do, that they said there has to be a different category, which is not fard, but it is so close to fard because it is so highly recommended. Does that make sense? Okay. So it's a good thing. So what that causes is the conflict. So some of the uneducated Hanafis, they think, oh, the Atharis, the Maliki, Shafi'i, Hanbalis, they don't consider witr a wajib. Well, they don't because of this reason, and I'll tell you that reason. Okay. So a man came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Long story short, a man came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was a Bedouin. So Bedouin are really coarse people. They ask very direct questions and then they move on. They don't go into details. Okay, that's their personality. So he asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, basically, what is the minimum do I need to do, okay, to be a Muslim? So the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, you have to pray 5 times a day. There are 5 prayers. He didn't say 6th prayer with it. That's the argument of the Athari argument. Because witr is not part of Isha. Witr is a separate prayer. So he said there are 5 mandatory prayers. It's like that. Then the man asked, are there any other that I need to pray? He's like, no, unless you want to pray extra nafila. Clear? And similarly, then he says, okay, then he's like, well, okay, what else? And then he says, fasting is mandatory. And he's like, is there anything else? He's like, no, and not any other fast, except if you want to do extra, then there's nafila for you. And so on and so forth. And after he was done with the 5 arkan, 5 pillars of Islam, he's like, if I only do this and I don't do anything more, which means he doesn't want to do anything extra, he wants to do the minimum. Am I good essentially? So Rasulullah said, yes. He said yes. So when he left, then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said right here, aflaha in sadaq. He will succeed if he is truthful, meaning if he sticks to this minimum, he's successful. Okay. Very famous hadith again. So that's the argument for the Athari side, which is saying with it, you can't, there's Lord. Okay. So they're just making a distinction. Against its technical semantics at the end of the day. Okay. All right. Clear about wajib and fard? Okay. So in summary, again, there is amr, which is a command to do. And at the highest level of the command is a must do. Okay. That's it. Okay. And that is called a wajib or a fard. There are different kinds of wajibat. So another dimension of it. I know it's getting a little bit complicated. Hopefully I'm doing a good job keeping it simple. There's individual responsibility and there's a communal responsibility. You understand? Everybody has individual responsibility and there's a responsibility on the community. Anything that is an individual responsibility, it's called fard ain, meaning it is an individual obligation. Praying 5 times a day, it's an individual obligation. Okay. Anything that is a communal obligation is called fard kifaya. Okay, a collective communal obligation. For example, salatul janaza. If somebody passes away, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy be upon them, it is the community's obligation to have salatul janaza for him. Okay. If 5 people, 3 people pray janaza for him, the whole community is absolved of that responsibility now. You understand? If nobody prays janaza on the one who is passed away, then the scholars say the whole community is sinful. Okay. Get it? Okay. This is what the distinction is: fard ain, individual responsibility, and a communal responsibility. So if nobody in the community this can be debated, but I'll just say that I'll just give you the common opinion. If nobody in the community is a hafiz of Quran, then the whole community is obligated. I'm not just going to say sinful because that's a very bold statement. Can't make bold statements like that. The community is obligated to make sure that they bring some scholar in, some hafiz. You understand? So there's communal obligation and individual obligations. Clear? Okay. In summary, the amr is do is wajib, and wajib is two types. It's ayn and kifaya. Clear. Okay, it's an individual obligation or communal obligation. Okay, now comes the really famous category, which has a lot of names. They all mean the same thing. Okay, mandūb. It's called nadab. Okay, nadab means something that is recommended. Okay, mandūb means something that is recommended. Why is it recommended? Okay, let's look. Okay, here's just again one example. So it's hadith in Abu Dawood. Nu'man bin Bashir, he said that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam kana yaqra'u fil eidain wa yawm al-jum'ah bi. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam during the Eid Salah and on Jum'ah used to read سبح اسم ربك الأعلى, Surah Al-A'la, wa هل أتاك حديث الغاشية, Surah Al-Ghashiyah. So in the first rakah he used to read Surah Al-A'la, in the second rakah he used to read Surah Al-Ghashiyah. قال وربما اجتمعا في يوم واحد. Okay, it's not important. So this is a Sahabi saying that this is what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to do. Okay. Did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam say you must read Surah Al-A'la and Surah Al-Ghashiyah? No. He just used to do that. That was his practice. That was his sunnah. You understand? That was his practice. So if we want to follow and emulate Rasulullah, what will we do? We will, on Jum'ah or on the Eid Salah especially, you will always see all of the Imams, they always, unless they're super different, and there's nothing wrong with it, nothing wrong with it. It's not, you can read another surah, it's completely fine, okay? But they stick to the sunnah and they do Surah Al-A'la in the first rakah and Surah Al-Ghashiyah in the second rakah. And if you ever wondered why they do that, this is why they do that. It's because of this hadith. And there's no. So what is a mandūb? Mandūb is something that you rewarded if you perform. Again, this is not coming from the Quran, and this is not explicitly coming from the Quran. This is the classification by the scholars. So you are rewarded if you follow the sunnah, obviously. Everybody understands why. But you are not punished if you don't do it. This is why the Asharis, the Maliki, Shafi'is, Hanbalis, they do not categorize witr in that category. Okay? So the Hanafis say, no, you are sinful if you leave the witr, because you're going against the significant recommendation for witr by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But they say, no. You can't be punished for what is not mandated. It is not part of the minimum. Okay. Anyways, that's a big scholarly discussion. Okay, like for example, what is a mandūb? Fast the 6 days of Shawwal, fasting during the 6 days of Shawwal. What is we know all of the sunan that we read before the Fard Salah, after the Fard Salah, all of that stuff. Things we do in the Salah, we will learn all of that. There's a lot of mandūbat. Okay, it has different names. Okay, it is called sunnah. Sunnah doesn't mean nothing. Other things are not sunnah. Sunnah here specifically means something extra that is not wajib, something extra that is not wajib, that is confirmed to be done by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because we don't invent in worship. We don't invent things, right? We only do what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam either agreed to, either accepted from someone, or he did himself. So it's called sunnah, it's called mustahab. Mustahab means things that are preferred. It's called nafila, means extra. This is a word in the Quran. Nafil is another word for it. Tatawwu', you may have never heard of it if you're not an Arab. Okay, this tatawwu' means voluntary. Voluntarily you do something. Voluntary fasting, for example. Fadila means something that is, that you're doing as an extra, something as anyways, it has all these names. They all mean the same thing. Okay, Hanafis, because they're a little bit detailed, they split it into two categories. Okay, this is a Hanafi thing. Okay, you must have heard of sunnah mu'akkada and sunnah غير مؤكدة. So sunnah mu'akkada is highly recommended. That's what it means. It's a highly recommended sunnah. And sunnah غير mu'akkada is a it's less than that. Okay. So how did they get so we know where wajib comes from, because we learn from the pillars of Islam and all that stuff. Okay. And there's some other details. What does highly recommended come from? This means Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam almost always did something and almost never left it. Or he encouraged people to do it. Okay. Okay. So what is the example of it? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam encouraged people to say Sunan al-Rawatib. You understand that term, Sunan al-Rawatib? Ratiba? The two sunnahs before Fajr, the 4 sunnahs or 2 sunnahs before Dhuhr, and the 2 sunnahs after, and the 2 sunnahs before, or 0 sunnahs before Asr, and the 2 sunnahs after Maghrib, and so on and so forth, the 2 sunnahs after Isha. These are called Sunan al-Rawatib, right? There are either 10 of them or 12 of them, depending upon which opinion you follow. These are called Ratiba. He encouraged people that if you do this, you build a house in Jannah, right? Remember the general idea? Okay. He recommended it, didn't he? He encouraged it, didn't he? Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So this comes in the Sunnah Mu'akkada category. As an example, it is highly recommended Sunnah. What is Sunnah Ghair Mu'akkada? For example, what we just read, like Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to pray, used to read Surah Al-A'la in the first rakah of the Eid, and the second rakah he used to pray Surah Al-Ghashiyah. Did he tell people to do it? No. So you can classify that as a ghayr mu'akkad. It's not highly recommended. It's not something he almost always did. Or some other example. For example, I have written over here, reading the azkar before you go to sleep. Okay, the Rasulullah recommended it for some people, and he didn't in general. For example, he recommended to Ali and Fatima, for example, to read azkar before going to sleep. He also said, okay, read Ayatul Kursi because it will protect you all the whole night, and so on and so forth. So those are sunnahs, but they are, you wouldn't put them in a highly recommended category. So the Hanafis do this. They create a gradient, a degree between the sunnah. They say there's highly recommended sunnah and not so highly recommended sunnah. Atharis, they just have a big bucket of sunnah. Sunnah is, even if it's a low category sunnah, they call it a sunnah. All is sunnah, okay? And of course they understand that there's grades of sunnah. Of course they understand it, but they don't have specific for it. Hopefully that helped remove some confusion. Any questions on this? So this mu'akkada, ghayr mu'akkada, it's only a Hanafi term. Okay. Most of the Shafi'i, if you say that, I don't know what you're talking about. It's sunnah. This is sunnah. Okay. And nafal, you can call it sunnah. Nafal and sunnah. Okay. One more point of clarity. And this is a wrong thing. It has nothing to do with Hanafi. Okay. In my opinion. We say, oh, how many sunnahs are after Isha and how many nafals are after Salah? They use that term, right? You've heard that before, I'm sure. Okay. What are they really saying? How many sunnah mu'akkada there are and how many ghayr mu'akkada there are? That's what they're really saying. There's not, because nafil sunnah, it's all the same. Okay. Sunnah nafil, it's all voluntary extra prayers. So this is a Hanafi thing. And I don't know, that term has, maybe it is found in book. Again, I'm not a Hanafi expert, so I can't tell you. But that's what they mean. There is no nafil. And I'll just end here after this, inshallah. Because this took longer than I thought it would, as usual. Okay. The last thing I would say is, one good thing about the way Hanafis think about these things is it becomes highly encouraging for people when they give it these different categories. You see that most Hanafi, almost never skip their sunnah salah, right? Right. And they actually consider it sinful in their minds, even not in reality, but in their minds. Oh, I have to pray 17 rak'ah of Aisha, otherwise I can't pray Aisha, right? So that's a good thing. What is the bad thing? It's like, oh my God, I don't have 20 minutes to pray. So they just skip the salah altogether, right? And they get this wrong sense of mentality that these are must do's and you will be sinful if you don't do. So that is the bad side. It's really bad, actually. For example, uh, people who even want to pray and they're grown up in that culture, they will go, oh my God, I don't have time to pray 17 rak'ah of, this is too much. 17 rak'ah of Aisha. But don't ask me about 17 rak'ah. It's not correct. We'll get to that later, inshallah. And then they don't pray. And then they feel guilty for not praying that, but they don't pray. It is so wrong. Habibi, just pray 4 rak'ah. That's it. That's all you have to do. You understand? Do the minimum at least. Clear? So that's the really bad side of categorizing that way, and it's become part of our culture, and that's really, really, really horrible. So I like the Athari approach, even though I appreciate the Hanafi thinking, I really like the Athari approach because you actually distinguish between the must and the optional. That makes sense? So if you want to skip the optional, you shouldn't make a habit of skipping the sunnah, okay? You shouldn't, any sunnah, right? You shouldn't make it a habit to skip the sunnah. But if you have to, because of whatever reason, this is the flexibility of our deen. But if you tune your brain that it's going to be wrong for you to skip the sunnah, then you have it all wrong. You are making the deen super difficult for people. And that is not the objective. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Yassiru wa la tu'assir." Make things easy. Don't make things difficult for people. Okay. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Anything that I said that was correct, that was from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and anything that I said incorrect, that was from myself and from shaitan, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his messenger is free from him. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah rabbil alameen.